Hey everyone, and welcome. So, if you're building with AI, you've probably hit this wall. How do we make these incredibly powerful agents not just smart, but also, dependable? The answer, it turns out, is something we've known for decades in software engineering. Let's get into it.
If you've built an AI agent, you know this feeling, right? You create something that can do amazing things, but then every once in a while, it just goes completely off the rails, and you're left scratching your head. It's a huge frustration, but it's one we can absolutely solve. And yeah, these are the headaches we all deal with. Agents getting stuck in loops, making stuff up, using tools the wrong way, or just forgetting what they were doing halfway through a task. And the worst part, you try to fix one thing and suddenly two other things break. It really feels like we're missing a fundamental piece of the puzzle. But here's the twist. What if the solution isn't some brand new hyper-complex AI model? What if it's an architecture, a pattern that software engineers have been using for years to build systems that are robust and scalable? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. We're going to look at AI agents through the lens of a simple three-layer model. And honestly, if you have any background in software development, this structure is going to feel instantly familiar. It's the key to bringing some much-needed discipline to our AI projects. Okay, this is the core idea right here. Just think of it like this. The agent framework is your code, your blueprint. It's where you build the agent's logic. The runtime is your server, your engine room. It's what executes that blueprint reliably. And finally, the harness is your test suite, your quality control. It's how you evaluate the agent to make sure it's actually working. Build, execute, evaluate. See? Simple. All right, let's peel back that first layer and start at the very beginning with the foundation, the agent framework. This is where your agent is actually conceived and designed. So, what is a framework? Just think of it as your development kit. It gives you all the essential building blocks, the models, the tools, the memory, the control logic, everything you need to assemble your agent's core brain. Now, here's the really crucial distinction to make. A framework isn't about running the agent, it's about defining it. This is where you're crafting the prompts, deciding what tools the agent is allowed to use, and designing its whole reasoning process. So when you're using a tool like LangChain, you are living in the framework layer, creating the blueprint of what your agent should do. Okay, so we've designed our agent's blueprint using a framework. Now, how do we actually run it in the real world in a way that doesn't just crash and burn? Well, that brings us to layer 2, the agent runtime. The runtime is the operational powerhouse. Its entire job is to take the elegant blueprint you designed and execute it robustly. It's totally obsessed with things like reliability, managing state, and orchestrating everything, especially when you're dealing with long, complex tasks. So let's think about what that means in practice. The runtime is what's actually running the agent's thinking loop. It's saving the agent's progress so it can pick up right where it left off. It's handling errors gracefully instead of just quitting. And it's logging everything so you can go back and see exactly what happened. This is what turns a fragile script into a production-grade system. So we've built our agent and we have a solid system to run it. But how do we know it's actually any good? Or maybe more importantly, how do we know our latest improvement didn't secretly break everything? Well, this is where the final, and I'd argue most critical layer comes in, the agent harness. The harness is your agent's personal boot camp. It's an automated system that runs your agent through potentially thousands of controlled scenarios to systematically test its accuracy, its safety, and its performance. This is the AI equivalent of a CI/CD pipeline and a test suite in traditional software. And you might be asking, do all agents really need a harness? The source material on this is crystal clear. For any system that's going into production, the answer is an emphatic yes. A harness is your safety net. It's what catches those sneaky regressions before your users do, and it ensures your agent is behaving safely. So how do these three layers actually play together? It's not just a one-way street. It's a continuous cycle of improvement. It's a really elegant life cycle that pretty much mirrors the best practices from modern software development. First, you define the agent in the framework. Then the runtime brings that definition to life and executes it. The harness then rigorously validates that it works correctly. And here's the magic. That validation data feeds directly back to help you improve the original design. It's this beautiful, closed loop that constantly pushes for higher quality. Okay, I know this can all sound a bit abstract, so let's make it super concrete. What does this architecture actually look like in the real world? Let's imagine a customer support bot. The framework defines its ability to look up an order or process a return. The runtime manages the conversation, even if the user disappears for a few hours and comes back. And, most critically, the harness is constantly running tests to make sure the bot never gives out private data and knows exactly when to give up and escalate to a human. Or think about an AI coding assistant. The framework gives it tools to read and write files. The runtime makes sure any code it generates is executed safely inside a sandbox so it can't wreck your system. And the harness is constantly running it against a huge set of coding benchmarks to measure and prevent any drop in performance. And the real beauty of thinking this way is that it directly solves those frustrating growing pains we talked about at the very beginning. Let's look at a couple of clear examples. We've all been here. You tweak a tiny part of a prompt to fix one edge case, and you accidentally break 5 other things. The fix? An automated harness with a comprehensive regression suite. Before you deploy any change, you know for a fact that you haven't taken 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And what about those infuriating loops that are impossible to debug? The fix lies squarely in the runtime. A good runtime gives you deep observability, step-by-step logs, traces for every tool call, a full timeline of events. It lets you see exactly where the agent's reasoning went off the rails. No more guesswork. Look, if you take only one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be this. It perfectly captures the entire architecture. Frameworks design the agent. Runtimes run the agent. And harnesses prove the agent actually works. So as you start your next AI project, ask yourself this. Are you just building a cool demo, or are you engineering a system that's built to last? By separating these 3 concerns, you're not just building an agent. You're building a reliable, scalable, and trustworthy AI system. Now, this has been a high-level look, but if you want to get into the real nitty-gritty with code snippets and deep technical specifics, you have to check out the full guide on C# Corner. We've put the link for you right in the description below. Thanks for watching.
C# Corner, your global community for developers.